Let's close off this episode with a little word association, something we haven't done, but I wanted to talk about some players, but they haven't really required us to talk about them for a full segment. So I threw about a half dozen in here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say a name, and then both of us are going to give one word or phrase that comes to mind when thinking of these players. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comment section. What is that word or phrase that came up to you whenever we mentioned these names? And let's start with one that had some headlines yesterday. Rutger McGroarty. What is one word or phrase that comes to mind when you hear the name Rutger McGroarty?
A positive work in progress. I know that's a bit lengthy, but I wanted to say work in progress, but sometimes work in progress feels like it's a negative connotation. No, he's a positive work in progress because really he should have started in the AHL anyway. Injuries just kind of piled up, and the opportunity arose for him because he looks to be a budding NHLer and is just on his way there. This is a good spot for him. He'll be fine. No one should have been surprised by the move, by the way. I don't know if anyone was. But Kyle Dubas pretty much blatantly said they want him playing. And then he got healthy, scratched a game. Again, missing a game is fine. But you don't want him sitting in the press box for weeks on end, days on end. You miss a game here or there, maybe to get that sort of experience under your belt, but then you got to be playing. So it was a smart move, and it's a positive work in progress.
Yeah, I have a similar word for that, and it's promising. I mean, I liked what I saw in his first stint. I understand that he didn't light the world on fire. I understand that he didn't even collect his first NHL point, but he just needs to round out the edges a little bit, and he's going to get a better opportunity to do so at the American Hockey League level. He's going to get more ice time. He's going to get power play one opportunities down there. He's going to get opportunities to play on a top forward line. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do when he goes back down to the AHL. And again, I think it's promising. I think this is a guy that you're going to see by the end of the season back in the black and gold in southwestern Pennsylvania instead of northeastern Pennsylvania. Let's go over to the number 2 player that I have on this list, Ryan Graves. One word or phrase to describe Ryan Graves so far.
I just have meh. I mean, hasn't been totally awful yet, but is also a +2. So there's some things going on there, some things cooking. I'm not going to say the turnaround is there, but he hasn't seemed overly egregious every game so far. Is it, again, for a defenseman in his position, it might be ideal to kind of be invisible for a couple of games. That's what he has been. So let's see if that can continue. Let's see if he can make plays that make you go, oh, look, there he is doing good things. I saw one of those against the Maple Leafs, but other than that, it's just been meh so far. I know there's been some gaffes, but otherwise better than last season.
Yeah, I mean, last night was the most mistakes I've seen him made, but a lot of them were in the offensive zone, and he was able to get back to kind of avoid it being a disaster in the defensive zone. So as far as Ryan Graves, first and foremost, is meh a word? I mean, I'm not going to take it from you, but like
it's a phrase.
I'm curious, is that like Webster's dictionary? Do they have meh? Like the AP style book, do they have meh? I gotta check that out. But I'll say
if they don't, I'm sure they will soon because it's that popular of a phrase. I just didn't want to use the word mid either, by the way. That's
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that because I do not like that word. But I'll say better. Better is the word I'm going with. Low bar, I know, based on what we saw last year, but for the most part, he's been fine. I mean, not up to his contract standards, and I don't think that's something that we should judge him against at the beginning of this season, because I think it's a long road to climb to kind of reach the potential of what that contract lays expectation-wise on him, but he's been better. I mean, the game against Montreal, rough because I don't think him and Ryan Shea particularly work well together. I think getting Jack St. Ivany back in there with him sets him up for success, like we've been saying all summer long. And I think because of that pairing, because of that deployment, and I think you also have to give a little bit of credit to David Quinn as well, because, I mean, it seems like the floor has risen for Ryan Graves. And at the end of the day, even that minimal upgrade is big for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I'll say better for Ryan Graves. Let's go to Michael Bunting. A lot of discussion starting to pick up around Michael Bunting. I'm going to go first on this one. The word that comes to mind with Michael Bunting is quiet. And that is not a word that I think I would have ever used to describe Michael Bunting. You saw a little bit of that pest-like attitude last night. He was getting under the skin of some people on the Buffalo Sabres, namely Jason Zucker. But the connection just doesn't seem like it's there right now with his line mates, and it just doesn't seem like he's making an impact on games in the ways that he did last season. And that's not even scoring. It's just last year you could feel his presence. You could see his presence. This year, a lot of times, kind of just fades into the back, and the Penguins need a lot more from him in a top six that is desperately searching for players to step up to that next level.
I like it. I have a phrase. I have Taps Mike, is this thing on? So
yes, that's a good phrase.
Quiet, and that fits perfectly. In 5 games, just 1 assist. And not exactly at all what was expected from a guy who came in like a house of fire after the trade deadline. Maybe the microphone will turn on soon. It's going to need to, but yeah, it's been a slow start for him.
Yeah, I mean, when I say the Penguins are desperately searching for people to step up in the top 6, obviously not including the centers. But Ricard Raquel has. I mean, Ricard Raquel goals in 3 straight games, including the biggest goal last night. Maybe not the biggest goal. We have Malkin's 500th that he scored from his butt. We have Crosby scoring his first of the season in overtime. But, I mean, Ricard Raquel, 40 seconds left, goes to the dirty areas, puts away the puck in the back of the net. But goals in 3 straight games for him. Brian Rust gets on the score sheet. I think you're seeing him kind of pick up his play. Anthony Beauvillier has a couple of goals, even though he is starting to become a roller coaster. I mean, watching him is very interesting this season, but you can't be quiet. You cannot be quiet if you're Michael Bunting. You are paid to be loud, obnoxious, and in your face. I want to see more of that for number 8. Let's go over to Yesa Puljujarvi, capturing the imagination of Penguins Twitter and Penguins fandom. What do you think about Yesa Puljujarvi? One word or phrase or what?
I just have NHLer written down.
Yeah?
Just this is what he should be doing. He's back. I think even a second word could just be healthy. He's back. He's stronger and more confident than ever, it appears. Looks to be fully back. And, there wasn't too much doubt that he was an NHLer before. But, working his way back from injury or from surgery, it just was tough to get the legs under him. Now that he's had pretty much a second off season to work through everything and a long off season at that, he's come back and he's looks stronger than ever, skating better than ever, and is ready to be a regular NHLer and should not be taken out of this lineup until ever.
Well, yeah, pretty much. No, pretty much. I 100% agree with you. I think it was one of my takeaways from the Montreal game, as I said, Yesa Puljujarvi should not be taken out of this lineup for the foreseeable future, which means until something drastic happens, he is in your lineup, because right now he's the centerpiece of the bottom 6, right? He is the best player in your bottom 6, and it's by a large margin. And that's saying something whenever your bottom 6 is playing well. Cody Glass has been good. Nola Chari was absolutely deking in a phone booth yesterday. Crazy. I know. Kevin Hayes has looked solid. Drew O'Connor scored a major goal last night as well. Lars Eller has been good, but Yesa Puljujarvi, and that leads to what my word is. I mean, I've been watching Outer Banks a lot because it is Outer Banks season. Thank you very much. So the word that I'm using for Yesa Puljujarvi, treasure, found gold, any of that works. I mean, a guy that was a free agent because of his surgery, Kyle Dubas took a chance on him, and right now it's looking like it's paid off tenfold. I mean, he has been excellent all season long, including the preseason. I mean, let's not forget, he diced up that Buffalo Sabres team in the preseason opener for a hat trick. And now you look at what he did last night, his first goal of the year, an absolute beauty of a goal for Yesa Puljujarvi. He is a treasure for the Pittsburgh Penguins, both on the ice and, you know what, I'll say off the ice. This is a guy that, and I said it last night, a lot of people are rooting for. I mean, not just, his fellow countrymen and all the listeners that we have from Finland, but Edmonton's fan base rooting for him. Carolina's fan base rooting for him. Fan bases that he has never played for. You can see that people are like, that's good for Puljujarvi. So good for Puljujarvi. He's a happy guy. He's a smiley guy. He's the Bison King, and he is the Pittsburgh Penguins treasure through 1 week of the season.
That's a great way of all putting it. That's perfect. And it's just a good story that everyone can kind of keep up with this year after just all of that time off, all of working his way back. And, now he's here and he's going to be here to stay.
We got two more. Let's go with his line mate, Lars Eller. What do you think about Lars Eller in the first week of the season?
I want to say unexpected. Just sort of more than I think I would have given him. Through 5 games, 2 goals, 2 important goals in 1 game, and an extra assist. Just unexpected, especially considering he's one of the sneaky old guys on this team. You don't normally think of him as one of the elder statesmen, but he's 35. So seeing this sort of start is great stuff from him, and it's just unexpected in my eyes. I'm sure there will be plenty that disagree, but that's just sort of where I stood with it.
Yeah, he's definitely turning back the clock a little bit here to start the season. And with that, this is going to be a very quick and simple one. Perfect. You don't get much better when it comes to third line center production. Defensive side of the puck, penalty kill, offensive side of the puck. He's been perfect so far. Can't ask for much more from Lars Eller. So I'll leave it at that. Now let's close it out with this one. And, we said that this is going to be a topic of conversation all season. I didn't expect it to be a topic of conversation every time we stepped behind a microphone, but Tristan Jarry, one word or phrase, Horwat, for Tristan Jarry. Before you say that, shout out to Bob Grove. Jarry has been pulled in 4 of his last 10 starts.
Oh, you know what that is? That is unplayable.
Yeah.
And that's my word.
Yeah.
And do we need to go too much further into detail? I've said it, I think, to you a couple of times now. If Nedeljkovic comes back and has even a halfway decent start, he doesn't have to win. Just a halfway decent, hey, you know what, you looked healthy. It's his net.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no other way of putting it. I don't know what has happened to Jarry. I don't know I don't know where to go with this. I think everyone saw that he had promise when he was first given that starting job a couple years back. I think a lot of people were ready to give him some slack after the Islanders series because it was his first playoff run, and a lot of the team didn't help him out either. Mm-hmm. Then he was hurt for the Rangers run, and the Penguins almost won that damn series anyway.
Yeah, and he was good in Game 7 on a broken ankle.
Yeah. So, again, ready and willing to give him a little bit of slack, and then the wheels have since fallen off. He can't stay healthy, and now it might be I'm not going to make the assumption or make accusatory statements. Now it might be a mental thing because he's just lost. He looks lost in the net. Again, the defense isn't playing good in front of him. He's supposed to be the one that makes those stops when gas happen in front of him.
Yeah.
At this point of the season, I don't think anybody expected Joel Blomqvist to have more ice time than Tristan Jarry.
Yeah.
It's by about 30 or so minutes, but that's half of a game.
And think about where we would be if Nedeljkovic was healthy. How much would Jarry have actually played to this point if Alex Nedeljkovic started the season healthy? So it's crazy. And it's a point where, Hunter Hodes always says it. When Tristan Jarry is going to play well is when he's confident. And you can tell because he's out on his angles. He's out of the net. He's at the top of the crease. I mean, last night, he looked like a turtle. Only his head was sticking out of the crease, really, because he has seemingly no confidence. Again, we don't know because we're not in the room, but on the outside looking in, that's what it appears to be. And that is no bueno for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And somebody asked me yesterday, shout out the Ohio Pens fan, Ohio Pens fan 66. Let's make sure we get it right. So exactly how bad is a Jarry buyout? So I looked at it, and according to Puckpedia, first and foremost, you can't buy out a player midseason. So whenever that buyout happens, 6 years after this year that you have it on your salary cap, 1.75 next year, 5.05 the following season, 4.5 the following season, and then 3 consecutive years where he would count $797,000 against the salary cap. So 6 years of eating contract, including 2 years where you'd be eating a $4+ million contract for Tristan Jarry. That's not an option that Kyle Dubas is gonna touch upon. Nope. I don't know what his options are at this point. It doesn't seem like anybody's picking up the phone when it comes to trade conversations. We saw Ville Husso get put on waivers. I don't know if that's a great option either. I mean, Jesse Marshall said it last night when somebody asked, what do you do? And Jesse said, put him on the bench until somebody else wants him to play hockey for him, because it's really all you can do. You're kind of locked into a bad situation with him. But, through all of this, I haven't even given my word or phrase, train wreck. Tristan the train wreck Jarry. Like that is where we're at right now with the Penguins goaltender. And if you look at his kind of graph via NHL, if you're tuned in on YouTube, I'm pulling it up right now for you. he's below the 50th percentile in everything. And they don't even count it at that point. They just try to like save face for goaltenders and say, we're just going to say it's below 50th because it could be very, very bad. You look at what he is right now, and outside of mid-range save percentage, which he is in the 75th percentile, he has just absolutely been horrendous through the start of the season. I mean, you look at 6 goals given up in the opener. Last night, he gave up 2 goals on the first 2 shots and then 3 in his first 5 and gets pulled. And even on Monday, you know, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was saying, listen, he got strong towards the end. He looked bad at the beginning, but outside of maybe one period this year, he has just been an absolute train wreck.
Yep. The only I've got some goalie stats in front of me too here. I mean, he's given up 12 on the season. He's at 5.47 goals against average. The only goalie with a higher GAA that has played more than one game in the NHL is Alexander Georgiev, but also the Avalanche are, oh boy, what's going on there bad.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the Penguins defense. Pens in Colorado, their defenses figure it out because that is not NHL level at all.